The Miami Dolphins have officially become one of the most frustrating stories in the NFL. Owner Stephen Ross continues to prove that he simply doesn't care about what's happening on the field. Because right now, we should be hearing that Mike McDaniel and Chris Grier have been fired, plain and simple. These two have failed to build and lead a winning team, and it's showing week after week. Instead, what do we get? A report from Ian Rappaport saying there are no expected changes within the organization. No accountability. No urgency. Just more of the same. And that is absolutely mind-blowing. You just suffered one of the most embarrassing losses of the decade. The team is sitting at 1-5, and the cracks inside the building are becoming impossible to ignore. When Tua Tagovailoa himself has to go to the media to call out teammates for skipping player meetings, you know something is seriously wrong. The locker room doesn't respect the head coach. The players look defeated. The leadership has vanished. Before we go any further, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and share it with your friends. And of course, hit that bell icon so you never miss an update on everything happening around the NFL. Then Sunday comes, and what happens? A total disaster. The Dolphins go up against the struggling Cleveland Browns and completely collapse. Tua throws 3 interceptions, the team looks lifeless, and it's clear they've given up. Yet somehow, after all that, the front office decides to stay quiet. No firings. No accountability. Nothing. That's not how a serious organization behaves. That's not how a team with championship ambitions operates. Stephen Ross has shown the world that relationships inside the building mean more to him than results on the field. If he truly cared about the Dolphins, he'd act. He'd demand better. But instead, Miami is now the punchline of the NFL, a franchise that talks big, but delivers heartbreak. At this point, every Dolphins fan is pleading for Stephen Ross to finally take action, to fire Mike McDaniel and Chris Grier and start fresh. The fan base has had enough. The players look defeated. The energy is gone. And it feels like the entire football world sees it, except for the man at the top. Let's be honest, Ross's lack of urgency isn't surprising anymore. This isn't the first time he's shown that winning isn't his top priority. And if you've been following this team, you've seen the signs for a while. Week after week, the excuses pile up, the mistakes repeat themselves, and the leadership fails to respond. What we saw on Sunday wasn't professional football, it was chaos. It was sloppy, uninspired, and embarrassing for a franchise that once dreamed of greatness. Every fan watching that game could feel it. The Dolphins didn't just lose, they looked lost. And here's the truth that hurts the most. No one outside of the Dolphins front office believes McDaniel and Grier should still have their jobs. Fans know it. The media knows it. Even other teams know it. If this were any other organization, those two would already be gone. But somehow, Miami keeps holding on, pretending everything is fine when the entire league can see it's not. The Dolphins aren't just losing games, they're losing credibility. And until accountability finally arrives in Miami, nothing is going to change. If there's one word that defines the Miami Dolphins right now, it's accountability, or rather, the complete lack of it. Inside that locker room and throughout the organization, no one seems to be held responsible for failure. Players underperform week after week, leadership crumbles, and somehow, everyone keeps their job. If accountability truly mattered, Chris Grier wouldn't still be running this team. He's been the general manager for a decade, and in that time, the Dolphins have earned 0 playoff wins and 0 division titles. 10 years of mediocrity, yet nothing changes. And what about Mike McDaniel? His creativity was supposed to spark something new, but leadership isn't about fancy play designs or clever sound bites. It's about discipline, respect, and results, and this team has none of that. Even Tua Tagovailoa, the face of the franchise, hasn't stepped up as a true leader. Instead of inspiring the locker room, we've seen frustration spill into the media. There's no unity, no voice that demands excellence, no one willing to take ownership when things go wrong. And the reason is simple. When leadership at the top fails, it spreads everywhere. It's like a pyramid. Everything starts from the top and flows downward. And at the top sits Stephen Ross, the one man who could change it all, but refuses to. At this point, maybe the real problem isn't McDaniel, Grier, or even Tua. Maybe it's Ross himself, because when you allow failure to linger, you become responsible for it. Until accountability finally returns to Miami, this franchise will keep repeating the same story. Wasted potential, broken trust, and another season lost. At this point, the truth is impossible to deny. The Miami Dolphins are exactly who we thought they were. Stephen Ross, If you truly want to fix this franchise, you have to make the hard decisions. Remove the people holding this team back. Because right now, the problem begins and ends with you. Everyone sees it. Fans see it. Analysts see it. Even NFL legends are calling it out. Teddy Bruschi recently said it best. The kind of leader who takes a team to championships is the opposite of what's happening in Miami. And he's absolutely right. That statement doesn't just describe one man. It fits multiple people inside the Dolphins organization. For months, I've been vocal about wanting Mike McDaniel and Chris Grier gone. But let's be honest, it's time to look even higher. Because if they're still in their positions after everything we've witnessed, that's not just on them. That's on the owner who keeps giving them permission to fail. Stephen Ross has become the root of the problem. Think of it like a weed. You can cut the branches, but if you don't pull out the roots, the weed keeps coming back. McDaniel, Grier, and Tua, they're the visible part of the problem. But Ross? He's the root. And until that root is dealt with, nothing will truly change in Miami. The Dolphins can't rebuild trust, can't restore pride, and can't chase a championship until accountability starts from the very top. Now, shifting from the chaos at the top of the organization to what's happening on the field, the Dolphins' struggles don't stop with leadership. The team is also facing serious injury setbacks following their latest loss. Tight end Darren Waller left the game midway through with what was later confirmed as a pectoral injury. His agent, Drew Rosenhaus, reported that Waller suffered a strain and will undergo an MRI to determine the severity. If it turns out to be a full tear, it could very well end his season. Even if it's only a strain, fans should prepare for a lengthy recovery. Remember, James Daniels suffered a similar injury back in Week 1, and 6 weeks later, he still hasn't returned to the field. So even in the best-case scenario, Waller's absence could stretch deep into the season. It's another brutal blow for a team already drowning in dysfunction and frustration. Between injuries, poor leadership, and a lack of accountability, the Dolphins have reached a breaking point. If Miami doesn't find a way to turn this around, from ownership to the locker room, this could go down as one of the most disappointing seasons in franchise history. It's looking like we've seen the last of Darren Waller in a Dolphins uniform, at least for a long time, maybe even permanently. And honestly, that's tough to accept. When Waller was healthy, he was electric, especially in those early games against the Panthers and the Jets. He reminded everyone why Miami brought him in. A dynamic playmaker with size, speed, and veteran presence. But this was always the risk. Waller has battled injuries for years, and after missing an entire season before joining Miami, staying healthy was always going to be a challenge. What's frustrating is that this time, the injury came out of nowhere. He didn't record a single catch or even a target in the game. It may have happened during a blocking play. Now the Dolphins are forced to turn to Julian Hill and Tanner Conner at tight end, with Greg Dulcich likely to be activated soon. But in the grand scheme of things, this loss only adds to the pain of an already crumbling season. Miami's offense is losing another valuable weapon, one who could have made a difference in the red zone and provided stability over the middle of the field. The reality is hard to swallow. This team isn't headed anywhere right now, and losing Waller just makes it that much tougher for anyone left on the roster to get the job done. Still, Dolphins fans, if you love your team and want to stay updated on every twist and turn this season, don't forget to subscribe, like the video, and hit that bell icon so you never miss the latest on the Miami Dolphins and the entire NFL. Late in the fourth quarter, Jaylen Waddle gave Dolphins fans another scare. With just over 3 minutes left, a missed throw forced him into an awkward jump, landing hard on his back after an incomplete pass. Thankfully, early reports say the injury isn't serious, and that's a huge relief. Waddle spoke with Dolphins reporter David Furwans, confirming he's okay, which is the best news Miami could have hoped for. Because let's be honest, if Waddle had gone down with a major injury, it would have been catastrophic. Alongside Waddle Achane, Waddle is one of the few bright spots left on this team. A true playmaker and spark plug in an otherwise frustrating season. Still, that play told us a lot. It wasn't just bad luck. It was another example of poor execution at the quarterback position. That throw should have been routine. A clean, simple pass that every NFL quarterback needs to make. Instead, it was off target, exposing Waddle to unnecessary risk. That can't keep happening if this team wants to protect its future stars. Now, with the season unraveling, some fans are already talking trades. But let's be clear, Jaylen Waddle and Waddle Achane are untouchable. These two are the future. They're the foundation Miami needs to rebuild around. Young, dynamic, and full of potential. The defense, on the other hand, almost everyone should be on the table. Changes are coming, and they're needed. There were a few bright spots. Kenneth Grant had a solid outing, showing flashes of what he can become. But outside of that, it's clear, the Dolphins are standing at a crossroads. This team has talent. It has heart. But until leadership, accountability, and consistency return, it'll keep falling short of greatness. So, Dolphins fans, buckle up. The next few weeks could define the direction of this franchise for years to come.